G'day everyone, my name's Jeremy Boyd. I'm a Microsoft Regional Director here in New Zealand, and I work for a company called Mindscape. We build developer tools that integrate with Visual Studio, and I'm here today with Adam Cogan from SSW, one of my Regional Director counterparts from Australia. G'day Adam, welcome back to New Zealand.
G'day brother.
Yeah, good to have you here again. So I understand you've been talking about Visual Studio 2012.
I have, yes. Doing a couple of sessions on what's new in 2012, what's new in Visual Studio, what's new in the .NET language, and my favourite, what's new in TFS.
Yeah, awesome. So give us a quick rundown on what's new in 2012.
Okay, well there's a lot of stuff in there. There's more than you can cover in even a couple of sessions. There's a lot of IDE improvements. There's some language improvements. We've now got, we've got, say, the storyboarding in PowerPoint. We've got Test Manager. We've got new tools like the feedback tool.
Awesome. So I know you're a TFS guy at heart, and you've found great use of the ALM tools. What's actually new in 2012 with ALM? I understand there's quite a lot of improvements there.
Yeah, well, there's a lot, and TFS itself is quite a large beast these days. So you've got the source control stuff. So there was a lot of complaints about what the offline experience was like in the older version. You'd lose the network connection and be a lot of pop-ups, and the distributed source code control systems like Git were getting traction. They've introduced local workspaces, which removes that. Then you've got the work item stuff, where you've got beautiful backlog planning, and then you've got the build. Now, and of course all the testing stuff, and deployment stuff for the ops people now. And not only did they do all that, they put it on Azure, so you can install it on premise in your office like you used to, or you can just sign up right now and have an account on tfspreview.com.
Great, that makes it pretty accessible now, doesn't it? Now, one of my favourite features that came in with Visual Studio 2010 was the introduction of the Test Manager.
Yes. And
I really liked the testing tools that were sort of wrapped together in this Test Manager. Really made it a great offering for testers, and we work a lot with a quality assurance team to make sure our products are really rock solid. That has been improved further in 2012, hasn't it?
It has. So that was a big milestone, introducing the Test Manager, because that was when you have devs and testers working together, and especially if you're doing things like Scrum, methodologies like Scrum, you need everybody working as a team. So it pretty much made it impossible to do a bad bug report. But the problem of it is that there's a lot of steps to get it up and running. So you have to set up a test plan, you have to have a test suite, and then you have test steps. And there's a lot of stuff before the testers can do their job. And if that's not all set up, there's still problems. 2012 has introduced something called exploratory testing. So you can just have essentially a user story and then say, start testing without, all the predefined plans. It's pretty compelling, because essentially at the end of a sprint, the goal is to have all the work items, or the PBIs or user stories, whatever you call them, and they're tested at the same time when the sprint's finished. And this is the best tool to be able to get that done.
Awesome. Now, one of the things you mentioned earlier, which I haven't heard too much about, is the storyboarding. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. We have, Microsoft are pushing ALM, Application Lifecycle Management. And the reality is they had the dev stuff and the testing stuff. They didn't really have the stuff on the beginning or the end. They didn't have the requirement stuff and the deployment stuff. What you have now is they've got the requirements stuff being built, and a core component of that is the storyboarding. Now, what surprised me, because I was a big Balsamiq user, was I wanted it in the web. I liked going to a URL and dragging things on and giving that to a customer. So when they first did it in PowerPoint, it took me by surprise, and I thought that's not what I wanted until I started using it. And I forgot that I'm an old hand at PowerPoint, and just to drag it on, drag the different controls on, change it using all the skills I have, and the rich client experience, and then when I'm ready to show the clients F5, it just seems too simple.
Well, that's pretty cool. So this is the sort of thing that a business analyst or a PM could potentially get their hands on and start prototyping with early on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, they've done some usability studies with existing Balsamiq users and this, and and this came out in front, which is very surprising.
Awesome. Now that sounds pretty good. Now I'm more of a developer myself, and so I've been using 2012, and so one of the things I quickly noticed was that there's been pretty much an overhaul of the UI. What's generally the news there for developers?
What's new? It's black and white.
Black and white, all caps.
All caps, black and white. But once you get past that, it's not completely black and white. There's bits of colour, but it is more black and white than before. And there's a few icons changed, which disturbs you for a few hours. But then you'll find that you can search everywhere. I can't believe how I was working when I couldn't search for files. It filters in the right-hand pane. They're actually called pages now. Pages, and you'll see all the bold headings. They're called hubs, and so you click on those and you drill down to another page essentially. And you've got these blue links, which they call actions. And so what you will find is in all these things, it's Control apostrophe, and you can search. And then in all the dialogues that pop up, like add references and all add solution items, they're Control E.
You can do Control Q as well, I think, for getting that search bar.
But what you can't do is Control F, which I wish it was Control F. But it's actually consistent with what is in Windows Explorer. So when you're in Windows Explorer, it's Control E and you're up in the top right.
Yep.
It's what we should have had a while ago, I think.
Yeah, it's good, and I've certainly found that quite useful myself. Switching over to 2012 has been, having access to those sort of quick search, quick navigation aids really makes things just a little bit more efficient. Well, thanks, Adam. Thanks for coming along and telling us a bit about 2012.